there's probably a lot of players playing either at the ELF level or especially with the Musketeers that could go to the US and play football at a high level.
When I see the signing of Jack Del Rio, my first thing in my head saying, it's going to another level.
I think those lessons are unique to a sports environment and the way you can learn those. Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. We've been working really hard in the off season.
Salut à tous, bienvenue pour un nouvel épisode d'une journée. Et oui, on va reconnaître le parcours de quelqu'un qui est très important. C'est Jimmie Johnson III, right? Coach Jimmy. Il est le coach au Paris Musketeers. Et bah, moi, je trouvais que c'était super intéressant et super important de découvrir un petit peu son parcours et comment il a pu atterrir justement en France. Donc, pour le bien des échanges, on va continuer en anglais. Mais sur YouTube, vous avez les sous-titres, donc vous pouvez les activer à tout moment et il y aura aucun souci. Ça se traduit plutôt bien automatiquement. Donc, pour ceux qui ont un peu de mal avec l'anglais, vous avez les sous-titres. Hey Jimmy, how are you?
I'm doing well. Je suis bon. Et toi?
Très bien, thank you. Very good. I'm actually it was one of the show that I was waiting for because I really want you to develop. I mean the Paris Musketeers and everything happened in there. So I know there is a lot of better person who can do that, but in just in my area, I will be. So happy to have a lot of talk with all of you guys, especially because this season starts to be very exciting for the Paris Musketeers. But today we're talking about you, Jimmy. And if you are cool, I have my first question who I ask to anybody is the same question. I mean, the same question I asking to everybody. How do you start following football? How all starts for you and where?
Yeah, so I'm originally from the Birmingham, Alabama area. Um, and for me, football was always kind of a way of life. My parents went to the University of Alabama. They were there during the 1992 national championship, and my dad played football a little bit, and obviously big Alabama fan. So football was always kind of a way of life for us. So when I was about 10 or 11, I started playing flag football, which is a little different. In the US, you can start playing football even around like 5, 6, or 7, but I started a little bit later. And then I played flag football, and then I started playing in middle school and just continued on my career. Played in high school, won a couple of state championships, and then went to university at a small Division III school in Central Virginia called Washington Lee University, and I won a couple championships there, and football was just always kind of a way of life. From my high school was huge. I went to Hoover High School, which had a TV show back in the day in the early 2000s. So, football was always just something that I did. It was a part of my DNA a little bit. And I've enjoyed everything that it's brought me in terms of new experiences, relationships, the strategy. I think it's a beautiful sport, and has just meant a lot to me and my family.
Yes, and it make you travel into France now, so that's why
Yeah, of
it's
course.
good. Again, it makes you travel the world.
Way.
and 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 if we go back to your journey, because it's interesting to have all the process in America, because there is a specific process with graduation. They put grades on player, and this is will go into your draft if you enter the NFL draft. How it works in US?
Yeah, so I mean, the draft process is very similar to how the college process works too. Essentially, there are coaches that are going to evaluate you, give you grades in certain specific areas, and then that's going to be why they recruit you for different positions. So, very different from France, and that sports are tied to the education system.
Yeah,
So when I go to middle school, or I think that's like école here, or lycée, I don't know like specific age, but when I'm about like,
middle school will be college, I guess.
yeah,
No.
11 or 12, I go to middle school, and then I can play for the middle school team. So I don't have to play for a club team. So I go to school, and then right after school, I go to practice. And then that's how it is in high school as well. So it's very much like all the schools have fields, all the schools have weight rooms, all the schools have the coaches who teach at the school, so you can see them throughout the day. So it's a little bit more of an integrated process than going to a club. Um, so I did that, and it's just easy access. The team will have a team meeting, and you can come if you're interested, and then they'll give you the equipment, and then you go to practice. So it was really easy to get involved, and then um, at the high school level, you'll get evaluated by different colleges, and there's four levels at the university system in the U.S. There's the Division I system, which is has the University of Alabama, Ohio State. There's two divisions for that. There's FBS and then there's FCS. There's also the Division II level where you can still get scholarships, but there's a lot more of those schools, but they don't have as much money. Those are schools like Ohio Dominican. One of our Dawson Dales went to a Division II school in Ohio. And then there's the Division III route, which has the most schools actually in the association, and those schools can't offer academic scholarships. So Zach Edwards went to a Division III school, St. Scholastica. So, there's actually a lot of ELF guys that have played at all different levels, which is really cool. And then there's another division called NAIA. My brother plays at that level. So there's a lot of opportunities to play at the higher level, but still only 7% of high school athletes continue on into college. So it's still a very rigorous uh, place to be. You have to be one of the best of the best. And like I said, they evaluate you on a lot of different things, such as your height and weight, your speed, your ability to do the mechanics of the position at a high level. So it's a very intense process and it can be overwhelming, but it's a really awesome opportunity if you get the chance to go to university and play. And also potentially if there's financial investment as well, it can be really great way to continue on and continue the sport, but also enhance your education as well.
This is interesting because it's like you say, it's a real process, structured process that you can follow at the end your all your life until your professional career, if you make it, of course. But it's different in France and Europe, or I will say in France because I don't know how the country how it works. But in France, you have to go
It's
to a
your
club and you just train 2 days a week. And here, what I listen, it's from the beginning. You can train almost every day. So you really train yourself into getting the best athlete and the best football player you can be, because you have the structure. That maybe this is the difference you can already understand between America and France. But of course, it's called American football, so you have guys to have a better structure because that's your sports. but
Wait.
but we are talking a lot. You are talking a lot about it's an international bread. The NFL wants to be an international bread, so football become an international sport in the same way. So the first thing that comes to your mind to young people, they want to go to the NFL. But if you live in
Mhm.
Spain, France, or other country in the world, you maybe need to take your chance very early in your life in going to America, and maybe try, I don't know, to go to a school and stuff like that. Because our first French player who play in the NFL play in college in the Bulldogs is Richard Arditz. So he has the chance to go
Mhm.
to college, and this is how it makes him play in the NFL. But that's not the center of the topics. The center is you. So what position do you play in the field?
Yeah, so in high school, excuse me. In high school, I played slot receiver. So think about like Wes Welker or Julian
Yeah,
Edelman. And then
just
in
just them.
university, yeah. And then in university I played running back, but I was in a triple option system. So essentially there's like a lot of people moving around and like motioning pre-snap and everything. So I was one of those guys that like shifted positions a lot and blocked and ran the ball and did a little bit of everything. So it was a really fun system to be in. So I've enjoyed it, but I've always been on the offensive side of the ball.
Offensive side. And because you start on slot as a slot receiver, you was a kind of a receiving running back too on third down. You can be that option to catch the
Exactement.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the kind of prototype of the running back today. They need to run
Yeah.
and catch the ball in the same way. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a
Christian
pass-heavy football.
McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara too,
Yeah, no
who
doubt.
has a and Saquon Barkley. Let's talk about the real MVP of the season. I mean, the one who should have been the MVP.
Well, I don't know. I'm a Ravens fan, so Lamar is
Oh,
my
so
guy.
Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, and Lamar Jackson. So yeah, you cool with Lamar Jackson, I guess.
Yeah, I love me some Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, he's a generational player,
Yeah,
and he's the modern quarterback you can see. He's a RPO guy. He can play all the three option. He can
yeah,
run the ball, pass the ball, and give the ball to the running back. I mean,
mhm,
and this is kind of a question of more strategic, but how can defense can adjust to a kind of player like that. I know you're more an offense coach, but how
mhm.
defense can read because actually they can because they are not an unbeaten team, but how can we read those type of player?
Yeah, it really comes down to discipline because all defensive structures are going to have someone to account for the quarterback on different run plays or the running back on different run plays. But the difficulty is when you do a lot of movement or you have a lot of pre-snap motion, you can make guys get out of position, you can make their eyes be in the wrong spot, and then all of a sudden Lamar has the football. So it really just comes down to a lot of discipline. And then just a lot of taking risks as well. You've seen some teams be successful blitzing Lamar and trying to really dictate the pace of the play rather than having the Ravens offense be the ones that are dictating the pace of the play. So there's some different things that, defenses definitely have in their toolbox to be successful, but a lot of it really comes down to discipline. And especially, it's easy in the first quarter to be disciplined and know, do your assignment and do it at a high level. But as the game goes on, as they start doing different things, as you potentially change your tactics, as you get tired, that discipline potentially either stays the same or it wears off. And then all of a sudden, like I just said, the guy that's supposed to have Lamar on the QB pull just dove inside because they've ran the inside zone 8 times. Derrick Henry's running down their throat, and then all of a sudden Lamar pulls the football and there's nobody in the area. So um, that's a really surface level way to kind of look at it. And every team's gonna have their different systems and strategies to be able to account for those guys. But football can be really simple. It comes down to doing your job. And a lot of times those big plays come when people aren't doing their job for a myriad of different reasons.
Yeah, and the margin of error in offense is very small because it's like an orchestra, and everyone
Hmm.
has to play his part perfectly if you want to display the play. I will say in defense it's a kind of different because a player can miss a tackle, the another one can come. So it's different, but to run a perfect offense, everyone has to play their role perfectly. So
Yeah,
sometimes
of course.
on TV we think that it's very easy. It's kind of man
Hmm.
they play 50 snaps a game. So yeah, it's easy,
Yeah.
but at the end you have to learn the playbook and chemistry, which is not
Yeah.
something that
No
that
doubt.
everyone.
Yeah, and people like Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, same on defense. Someone misses a block and Derrick Henry stiffs arms them into the ground. Hey, sometimes that's why you pay these guys lots of money to do things that you can't scheme up on the whiteboard. They always say, Jimmys and Joes beat X's and O's, and that applies for offense and defense. So,
So that's a real world. Now, when we will see a big play on the Super Bowl, we will not say, "Wow, they are true athlete." We will say, "Hey, they are paying enough. It's their job."
it is.
It's not something extraordinary. They are just paid for that. They have to do that at the high level. It's the NFL at the end. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not a small league. It's the NFL. If we don't see the best athlete in the world, I mean, it
exactement.
doesn't work. It doesn't work. But
Yeah.
again, in through a level, we will go into that a little later in the show. But we have to understand that the level maybe sounds to be different, but at the end, the technique and the fundamentals are the same in every
Yeah.
place in the world. And how do you start become a coach? Because you were a player, but
Hmm.
you switch into a coach. We are spoiled. We know today what you're doing, but between those, what happened?
Yeah, so I graduated from my university in 2020. So that was a COVID
Congratulations.
year. Things were crazy. Merci. And I was looking to do something in sports. I had a background in journalism and was maybe going to do sports media, sports marketing. I'd always been interested in coaching, but didn't know, when I wanted to go on that journey. And then an opportunity at my alma mater or at my university to coach opened up. And we were also a small school, so I would still have the opportunity to, do some media things such as social media, do some of the marketing, be able to help out with the administration and things of that nature. So it was a really good like first job where I would have a lot of opportunity to learn how to be a coach, but also still be able to learn different things as well, which I was interested in. So I coached there. The first year was COVID, so we didn't even have a season, but that was kind of cool in retrospect because I was able to learn how to coach with
Yeah.
less pressure, which was
Less
cool.
pressure, of
And
course.
yeah, and I have a great mentor, you know, Garrett LaRose, Bobby Jones. Those guys really helped me out a ton. And then the next year we played a season and we won the championship, which was amazing. That was one of the best championship runs I've been a part of. It was really cool to go from COVID to putting a lot of time into winning the championship. So that was great. And then my third season at the university, I was promoted to special teams coordinator and then did that. And then I was looking to do something new. I've been at that school for 7 years now. It was time for a change of scenery. And my friend, Josh Brees, he had just signed a contract to play for the Paderborn Dolphins in the GFL. And that was my first introduction to European football. I was like, oh,
You play
that'd be
football in
kind of
Europe.
yeah, I was like, that'd be kind of cool to, travel a little bit. I was itching to explore the world and then also do something that I love. So I just made a Euro players account and started looking into the scene. And then I applied for the Paris job, just sent my resume to Coach Mark, and all of a sudden, a month later, he reached out to me and said he was interested, and we got to talking, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden, I was flying into Paris, France, to coach
Yes, sir.
American football. And I literally landed the plane. The president France, he picked me up, and I went to the first ever practice in like 3 hours. So the first day was pretty hectic, but it's been great, man. I think I've really um, found like a new passion for football. I've loved to be able to, explore the world, learn about new cultures and everything. And this has been an amazing experience so far. And I've loved every minute with the Musketeers.
And for all American who will do the same thing that you, when a European say they want you to go to France and coach football, be sure that he's using the right word because there is football and soccer. Be careful.
Les foot.
Le foot, yeah. So yeah, this is where you have to be. But in the same way, football is kind of the American
Where,
football, but in Europe, soccer, I will say it's one of the most favorite, if it's not the most famous sports in the world. So it's not that bad if you finish coaching
where,
Ronaldo or Messi. eh, it's not the worst mistake that you can do.
yes, yeah.
No, but go back to American football. You talk about the special team coordination. It's kind of people not discrediting the special teams, but it's a 53 players foot sport. So you have 11 players on offensive, 11 player on defense, and 11 players on special teams. And what can you tell us about that group of football? Because most of the time when we see special teams going, it's for a punt or a field goal or for a kickoff. And like Peyton Manning said, he hates when on
Mhm.
fourth down they go to punt or going to a three points. But at the end, how much teams win a Super Bowl with one field goal? So let's put some
Exactly.
light of this group, please.
Yeah, it's called special teams for a reason. It is
Yeah.
special and very unique. I think there's so many elements to it that are underrated. You talked about the 53-man roster. So obviously football is a huge sport. And on most teams, if you sit the bench, you may not play. Whereas, on special teams with 53 guys, obviously not all 11 are going to be on the field. But if you're a special teams guy, you may end up playing 20% of the game. So it's a really unique way for you to engage with the roster, to get some younger guys who are physically talented, but maybe not at the mental level to be able to be a starter, the opportunity to go out there and contribute to a game. And also, not have the starters do everything. You bring a fresh guy onto the field that's excited about this role and is able to go out there and make a big play. It's really cool. As a special teams coordinator, I get to interact with guys on offense and defense as well. So personally, that's a very cool way for me to be able to have different relationships with the guys. It's a saying in football that the only people that talk to the whole team are the head coach and the special teams coordinator. So it's a really fun way again to get people invested in the get people invested in the team, get people reps, and get people excited to go out there and make a big play. Now talking about like the actual, impact on the game, special teams is huge. If you look at, like you said, with Super Bowls, field goals are really common. Everybody knows those are pretty important, and those 3 points make a huge difference in terms of winning and losing games. And I think the thing that people don't think about with special teams is it can be taken for granted, but it's one of those things when it goes well, it's fine, but when it goes poorly, everyone notices. And
Mhm.
if you only get about 30 snaps a game, your margin of error is smaller than even on offense and defense. Because if you have a big play happen on special teams, you don't get many more chances to go out there and fix the mistake. Patrick Mahomes may throw an interception, like Lamar actually in the past divisional game. Like he didn't have a great first half, but he played well enough in the second half to go out there and put the Ravens back in position to win the game just because he had so many more snaps. On special teams, if you have a bad punt protection and the punt gets blocked, you may literally only have like 1 to 2 more times to go out there and do punt protection. And the stats on if you get a punt blocked, they're like almost 85 to 90% that if you get a punt blocked, you will lose the game because of the field position swing. So it's really huge in terms of the margin of error is so small. And then with field position, it's an easy way to kind of there's something called like hidden yards. So, for example, if you punt the football and the returner doesn't catch the ball and the ball rolls 15 yards, all of a sudden the offense has to get an additional first down and a half to get to the end zone. So there's a lot of small things like that that really play into the field position with special teams that make it really important when you look at the grand scheme of the game. So, it can be really detailed like in the actual day to day. We have almost a meeting every day with the special teams. We have almost 10 to 20 minutes of practice times every day. There's a whole language, there's a whole different techniques and schemes that are involved in special teams. So it's a really it's a really big task when you think about it, just because you have to do a lot with a little bit of time with players that are doing things that they don't normally get to practice all day. But it's a really rewarding thing when you have a really solid foundation and can go out there and make a big impact on the day to day and then also every Saturday and Sunday. So it's something that I personally love. And I think the guys in Paris have really bought in and built around our special teams culture as well. So it's a really unique phase of the game, but if you really, take the time to watch what happens on fourth downs, it's a really interesting, a whole nother layer of the game.
Yeah, I learned through the years that the science of field position, it's maybe one of the aspect of the game who is the most important, because it's not the same thing when you start on your 20 years than you start on your 14 years. At the end, it's just 20 years difference, but it's totally different. Defense don't have the same room of error when they start
Mhm,
on the 40 yards. So you just win 20 yards and you are on the football field goal position. So 3 points there. And when you
mhm.
start on your 20, you have to go and have maybe two, three, four, five first down before having the chance to score points. Because at the end, it's like every sport, you have to be the team who score the most points.
Yeah.
We don't care if it's 20 or just one. At the end, the team has the most sports wins. So it's
Mhm,
important. So punt, maybe one of the most important thing in football, because when you punt the ball, it's kind of you giving the ball to the other team, but you don't want to give the ball too close to the midfield, because at the end you're being killed. And this is how so many teams lose football sometimes. We could see that on the conference game between the Commanders and the Eagles. It was not
mhm.
based on special team, but all the fumbles the Commanders did, most
Yeah.
of them were close to the midfield, and we understand it very quickly that the defense goes like, "Oh man, they will be on our 20s like this." So
Mhm,
it's important. I have a friend who live in Canada. His call is Remy. He's someone coach on he coach in high school. It's high school, I guess it was,
mhm.
and he always saying that it's fascinating, the special teams. It's very fascinating because you have almost all the aspect of the game, on the special team plays. So
Yeah.
it's kind of very very interesting, and I'm glad that you are a special teams coordinator, but because we can talk about that today.
And if you think about it, your friend, special teams is even more important in Canada because there's only 3 downs.
Yeah.
So they punt a lot more frequently and the field's bigger and stuff like that. So special teams is even, more complex in Canada.
Yeah, and back to the start of the NFL season, everyone was questioning the new kickoff, and it gave much more interest. I mean, at the end, what happened the past 10 years when there is a kickoff, nobody was watching the kickoffs because 99% of the time it was a fair catch or it goes to the end zone, and now we have something different. It's something can happen. I remember back in the times the Ravens against the Giants, the Super Bowl. We have like back to back to back. I don't remember if it was that way, but you have three kickoff return into a touchdown, two for the Ravens, by the way, and it
Mhm.
was. I mean, it was amazing, and everyone talked about that in that time. It
Mhm.
was one of the best moments during the Super Bowl. And the other thing was Ravens defense destroyed the Giants, and
Whoop, whoop.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good times.
Rarely Lewis, it was one of the greatest defense ever, by the way. So yeah, back into 2000, right, or
Yep,
2001. I don't remember.
2000.
Yeah, we were young. And take a look about one of another position that maybe today we talk less, and it was a high topic back in 2000 and even more in 90, but even more in 80s 70s, is the running back position, because you're coached running back too. uh, what are the requirements to play that position?
Yeah. So running back's actually really unique because, like we were talking about earlier, it's evolved a lot to be a jack of all trades. So what I mean by that is you have to be physical to be able to pass protect. You have to have good hands and good um, body control to be able to run routes out the backfield. And then you just have to be fast. You have to be quick, and you have to have great vision. So those are kind of the things that I'm really looking for. Great spatial awareness to be able to understand the blocks, be able to read how quick or how slow people are coming to tackle you, so you can make different moves, and then have the speed and agility to be able to outrun defenders, to be able to have what we like to call wiggle. So that means just like to be able to move around to make people miss and things of that nature. So, and then you have to be smart as well. There's a lot of different scheme stuff and understanding of the offensive line and also what the defense is doing to be able to read the blocks properly, because the O line could be working a double team up to a linebacker, and it's really important that you run at the double team in a certain way to help them out, and then you'll be able to cut to the hole that's going to open. So rather than just running straight to where the hole should be, being able to set things up so everything works properly, like you talked about in an orchestra. So, like I said, being able to be physical, catch the football, run good routes, be fast, have great agility and wiggle, and then good vision and spatial awareness and body control are all kind of the things that you look for in a great running back. So some of those things are like general to football as well. But again, the vision, the spatial awareness, and the I would say the agility are the things unique to the running back position.
And if for example a kid 10 years old watching this episode and have the subtitle, if you live in France or wherever, what are what is your advice or you to him to, I would say, play football, but especially if to play the running back position, and maybe look at the special team area, not as you miss something because you are there. So, what can you tell him to work since now to have a chance to play any position on the field, and especially running back or special team? Because I can understand that you have some players who will feel like, oh man, I'm playing on the special teams, it means that I'm not good. I'm not think that this is the good vision.
So I think if you're young, honestly, you should just one, this may be like different, but one, play all the sports you can. Play as many sports as you can because you're gonna develop things that you're gonna develop footwork in soccer that are gonna translate to especially to football American or le foot, my bad, not
Le
soccer.
foot.
Play le foot.
Le foot US.
Le foot.
Il y a le foot et le foot US.
But one, I'm just a bit, a lot of times people are, only playing one sport. And I'm not a big believer
Yeah,
in that. You should play multiple
yeah,
sports to develop things. But, talking about things in football, I think you should try to play multiple positions so you can understand just how different things work, so you can understand the orchestra. So if you're on a small team, like try out safety, try out receiver. If your heart is set with running back, that's awesome, and you can play running back. But it's important for you to understand everything. That's a big thing that we're trying to work on with the Musketeers and just football in general in France is just like raising the football IQ or the football intelligence because that's a really underrated part of the game. You're not just
yeah,
going out there and hitting somebody. You need to hit somebody with this leverage. So if you miss the tackle, all your buddies are going to be able to come and help you out with the tackle. So just raising the football IQ. So being able to understand different positions in the on the field is super important. So I would say footwork, any type of footwork drills you can do on a day to day, those are super important because footwork is everything, especially at the running back position. Being able to have quick and controlled feet and being able to avoid defenders is super important. General strength, so just weight training. If even at that young age, I don't know if you should be doing weights, but push ups and sit ups, just general things like that to be able to get stronger is going to be really important. And then I would just say also your hand-eye coordination. So being able to catch a ball, have that spatial awareness and seeing defenders are all things at an early age that you can do to help out that will build a great foundation. So when you advance, maybe you're a bigger guy, so you're a power back. Maybe you're a smaller guy and you're a scat back or a speed back. Then you can specialize and really dive into things that you're going to be great at. But I would say footwork, strength, speed, and then vision and spatial awareness are the things that you can work on now and get accustomed to that will help you down the road as you become a better football player.
yeah.
But
That's it.
again, just playing football and just playing sports, being active is going to be the key to, being a great athlete down the road.
And enjoy, I guess, because most of the time you have to find the sports that you enjoy really. Because of course in Europe and
Bien
especially in
sûr.
France, everyone wants to be the next soccer best player, but the room is very tight. I
Mhm.
mean, when you talk about all the young people playing soccer, and there are millions, at the end, less than 1% will finish professional. So if you really want to do a professional career in sports, don't put all your cards in just one sport, because you never know. You think that you're good in soccer, but maybe you're even better in tennis or American football. You never know. So it's better to put a maximum cards in your hand, and give your shot. But as a coach, as a sports educator, of course you advise, your advice will be do sports, whatever it is, but do sports, train your body, because it's important for life, especially when you enter your 40s. You need to have a great body to
Yeah, and your mind too, there's a lot of tactics that help and just also learning about how to compete and be a part of a team. All my best lessons that I learned from sport, championships are great, but I feel like I've learned how to face adversity, how to navigate a team, how to navigate with people you may not get along with the best, but you have to come together to be a part of one team. A lot of lessons. I played baseball in the US and a lot of lessons of just like mental toughness and patience and things of that nature I learned playing baseball that can translate directly to football. So I think there's just so many elements. I've thought a lot about this. Sport is kind of one of the only places where you can have a controlled environment that puts you in a high stressful um, place with a lot of different people, and you're able to learn how to navigate that with the stakes are high in the arena, but if you look at life, You know, we're not doing brain surgery. We're not, police or firefighters rescuing people. It's a very safe environment to be able to learn those traits, especially at a young age, that depending on what your career is or your family, there's going to be moments where you have to lock in. And coming from that sports background, that's helped me be able to navigate life in that way. And I think those lessons are unique to a sports environment in the way you can learn those.
And that's for sure. And this is where I want in that show to develop the aspects of beyond stats, embrace the journey, because the journey it resonate much more in every personal life, in every career you can have, because all the challenges, all the family teams spirit, and all the things that you can learn in sports will help you also in your work, because in your work you can have tough time, you can have a new guy come or a new girl come and want to take your spot, and you have to be better. That's the same thing in sports. So that's why I want you to develop the show in that way, to I mean, humbly, if I can help just one person to understand better the importance of the sport, it made my day. So this is where I want to go with that show. And going to where I want to go to that show, it's also to create awareness into France football and the Paris Musketeers. So you talk about you travel, so you enter to Paris Musketeers. I hope Frenzy didn't sign your contract with Marc Angelo, not just because you were a Ravens fans, because we all know Franzi loved the Ravens. I hope that it's not the requirement because, hey, I'm a Ravens fan, if it's that.
No, no. But it may have
No,
helped.
it's a joke. So what was your first day in Paris Musketeers? Can you explain it? What was your
Yeah,
feeling?
I remember I was really excited. And it was super new. It was my first time in mainland Europe. I had done a university trip to Ireland for a month, but this was my first time in the mainland. So I was excited. Um, I flew in. I had an overnight flight from Atlanta. So I left about 5 p or 17 hour in the US. And then I got to Paris around 8, and then Francie picked me up, and then we drove to the facility, and practice started at like 11. And I shook hands with everybody. I said, "Hey, nice to meet you." I, you know, I had no idea how to pronounce a lot of the names, and um, I was really messing up the names, especially on special teams. You doing drills and stuff, you're calling out a lot of names to put people in positions and everything. So that was a rough start, but everybody was awesome. Everybody was really excited to get going. We had our first team meeting, and then we had our first practice. So by the end of the day, I was really tired, but we had a great practice. And it was cool to just get started. And I think the thing that's maybe people don't think about is, especially in the US, a lot of teams that you're a part of have been around forever. So this was a brand new team. This was the first time you were getting all these people together in this one place under this new logo with this new mission. And that was really exciting. It's also really humbling to be a part of something like that. And it's also really difficult. It takes time to really build something, and it takes time to get everybody on the same page. So it was just a really unique thing to be a part of. I don't know if maybe I'll be a part of something like that in the future, but so far I've never been a part of something like that where you're literally you're part of the first brick of a
Yeah,
house.
yeah, yeah.
And that was a really cool opportunity. So, you know, so far it's been, like I said, it's been great, but that was a really cool day that remember for probably the rest of my life.
Yeah, and you know what you're saying, it's really resonate a lot to me, because when I met Frenzy, and when I look at the Paris Musketeers, it's all about, if you took into perspective for the next 10, 15 years, I mean, we were there from the beginning, and we've been seeing this team growing each and every years, and we don't know what the history will be. We don't know if this league will going to a major league, a more popular league, and maybe we will see a player that we will be following being drafted in the NFL. We never know what could happen, what can happen, or in the CFL, because sometimes we are not uh, only looking at the NFL, but you have the CFL too, and other leagues. So we don't know where it's going, but the exciting part I feel for the French fans, it's to look at a project from the beginning. They are like living the moment. And I know that I don't want to do some buzz, but we know who will be the next head coach for the next season. Who will be the head coach for the next season? And this is for me immediately when when I see the signing of Jack Del Rio, my first thing in my head saying it's going to another level. I mean, we are if we want to see a French player or a player from the European League football going into a North America league, you have to be trained like the NFL players are training. So the mentality I expect will be in that level. And this is exciting for the future because it is how it starts. It's not by bringing players, it's also bringing the culture, the mentality too. And this is what you guys have been doing since the beginning, and this is going into another level now. And I can tell you that Jeff Duncan, who is the writer of the New Orleans Saints and also a Pro Football Hall of Fame selectors, DM me saying, "My God, Jack Del Rio just signed to the Paris Musketeers. You guys and has to be exciting." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes, like it's like a Christmas today."
Yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. We've been working really hard in the off season, building the players, developing the players, building the playbooks and everything. So we're really excited to build off of what we accomplished last year and like you said, take it to a new level. And I think the really cool thing about, being at the ELF level is, you talk about players from France going to the US and stuff. I always tell people like there's probably a lot of players playing either at the ELF level or especially with the Musketeers, that could go to the US and play football at a high level. I think the difficult part is just like one, it's hard to, you know, with paperwork and everything to go from France and go to university in the US with scholarships, with lack of scholarships and academic requirements and everything, and just, being in a new country. But I think the biggest difference is just, like I said, when you're at the high school or university level, you can work out every day. You're fed 3 times a day and stuff like that. And it's just different with the club system just because the sport isn't as developed. But there are so many players, if you put them into a college football program and had them weight training year round and had them eating year round, they would be great college football players. So I think that is something that, I know we're trying to build the level and we're not content with where it is. And we're really striving to take the organization and we're trying to take the sport to the next level. But I think people would be really impressed with the level it's at now. And I think, I think people in the US don't really understand that, these guys play great football and they are really committed. And that's a big reason, like I said, why I love this team because I know when I step in the building every day, we have great players that are really focused on trying to be the best people and players they can be. And if you can have that, you can do anything.
For sure. And just I will make a little precision. You guys were title contender last year, so it doesn't mean the team is a title contender this year because Jack Del Rio will come. You guys were already a team built for the title last season. I want to give credit to also the past of the Paris Musketeers, but sometimes we get too much exciting for what happened next. But we have to understand that the team were very good, going to the semifinal last year, and damn it, we could have gone to the final, but we don't we never rewrite to the past. But the team
Yeah.
was excellent, so gratitude and respect for all the work who have been done, and looking forward for the work that will be done. And I have a great talk with
Merci.
Digan, who is a Paris Musketeers player on
Yep.
defense side of the ball. He shared a story about going to Canada and the lot of uh, difficulties he has, money, scholarship. You have to pick his university very carefully because there is an
Hmm.
entire process. This is very important to have those kind of story, those kinds of sharing moment, because nothing happened like I want to go to there, it's coming like this. There is a process and you have to know the process, and with you guys sharing all the aspects of this will be a huge help. And this is the part of where there is a chance that there is someone start a game in a Super Bowl in the future and being a French or Spanish, but they already have a Spanish player or German player, but a French player, just Richmond did really start a game in history. So yeah, what are your thoughts? And this will be the last question. What are your thoughts for the future of French football? You starting saying that there is a great athlete, but what is for you the if we look at that 5, 10 years from
Mhm.
now, what do you expect?
Yeah, I think things are in a great spot and are just going to continue to develop. Like I said earlier, I think enhancing the football intelligence is really important and making sure people understand the why behind things. So I think that's been a big thing that's been a part of like what we're trying to do at the Musketeers is explain why we're doing things. Yeah, we're going to run inside zone, but we like this play because of this. And that's been great, just in the early conversations with Coach Del Rio. He's a really big proponent, or he's thinks that teaching is really important. And that's what really separates, the good from the great coaches is like being able to teach. So I think that's really important. And just again, just getting more people involved, both as players and coaches, are just gonna enhance the game at a different level. So um, I'm really excited, like I said, to be able to be a part of the Musketeers, which is kind of that main driver right now, and then to be able to help out as much as I can. So like right now, I'm in Cannes right now, helping out with the Iron Masks, which is a Division 1 team in the French domestic league. So I've been doing that a little bit in the off season when I'm not with the Musketeers. I travel to different places and help out with the coaches and things of that nature. I was in Belfast, Northern Ireland last year, and that was a great experience. So I think just continuing to develop and get more people involved, get people learning, and then you know everything's not going to be perfect. It part of building something is making mistakes, but giving people the opportunity to make those mistakes and learn from it is also a part of the growth as well. So the more experience that you have and the more time goes on, as long as everybody's focused on the goal of developing the sport, enhancing the players, enhancing the coaches, and we're all doing that together, we'll be able to navigate anything that occurs, whether that's positive or negative. As long as we have the same mission and are taking it one day at a time, un jour à la fois, c'est bon.
Yeah. I am answer. And yeah, it sounds cliche, but never be afraid to do a mistake. This is where you start learning.
Mhm,
You never learn by having right every day. You're learning by
mhm,
making mistakes, and maybe that separate between a great and a good. It's the one who take the risk to do mistakes sometimes. So this is where it's going. And
mhm.
to finish the show, I will say it to American just this. First of all, thank you for this sports because it has been one of my highlights on sports. Damn, I would love to have played that when I was young, but we never do the past. We never rewrite the past. But listen, it's all about opportunities, and
Ouais.
just I know that you guys will always have the best athlete. The MVPs will always be American. I understand it, but you know what? I know that there is a kind of protection into American football. I understand it. There is no issue in my head, but listen, we have been able to have like players like Kylian Mbappe in soccer, which was arguably one of the best football soccer player in the world. We have Teddy Riner, we won a gold medal. So
Mhm.
French are good. Don't be afraid of that. And listen to Tony Parker. He has been a lot of fame in basketball and the NBA become even better when that happens. So it's just a matter of being better and growing. And for athletes in the NFL, it's the best thing that could happen. Can you see the how many Ronaldo and Messi win money? You want to develop in the world, man.
Mhm. It's true, c'est vrai.
Yeah, so international bread is maybe the best thing that can happen for the future of football.
Yes.
Eh,
Yes.
thank you very much. A lot of good energy and luck because sometimes you need that extra luck to win a title.
Bien
But
sûr.
I know that you guys will put a lot of work. The off season will start very quickly, and you guys
Oui.
will work a lot. and I hope that the stadium will be full this year because middle empty
J'espère.
stadium. I do not like that. I do not like that. That's not the best promotion of football. So people just go
Mhm.
to watch American football. It's a very interesting, and even in live on stadium, the quickness of those athletes are very impressive, and you will
Mhm.
enjoy the moment. So just take a chance to football. And the good thing is, by watching the Paris Musketeers, you don't have to wait until 2 a.m. to watch a Monday night game. So it's still it's still a good, it's still good to see that. And I let you the final word, Jimmy, for the French community, and thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Et merci à vous, pour, tout à faire pour, la communication de la sport et like I said, un jour à la fois and, allons-y, let's go. Let's have a great year.
Yeah, all for one, tous pour un.
That's important.
Yeah, and sky is the limit. That's my feeling for this team. Sky is the limit.
Yeah, just gotta take it one day at a time.
Yeah, one day at a time.
Oui.
Merci à tous. Et un commentaire positif pour Jimmy, et on le remercie d'être venu aujourd'hui, d'avoir partagé sa vie, sa passion pour le football, son histoire et aussi un petit peu ses espoirs pour le Paris Mousquetaires. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Have a great day. Merci à tous. Bye.
Merci.